progression is a series of movements based on dynamic neuromuscular stabilization and developmental kinesiology, which is, without getting too much in the science, is really just a fancy way of saying that scientists studied how human infants develop strength, and then they broke that down into a series of movements which anybody can use to develop core strength. When you think about it, infants are all born, right? They can't even hold their neck up. They have very little core strength. They all have a diastasis, and then somehow they go from completely helpless to walking, typically in a matter of 12-ish months. How do they do that? And so that was really kind of how the functional progression came about. It's mimicking the same series of movements that we used as infants to develop strength, and that we can use as adults to rehabilitate or just check in and make sure that our core is working optimally. So functional progression part 1 is also called dead bug, and it is essentially mimicking a newborn lying on their back, breathing. All babies belly breathe instinctively, or what we call diaphragmatic breathing. So putting your hands around your rib cage, taking a few deep breaths. You want to feel your rib cage expanding, and that expansion going down towards your pelvic floor, not up. If your shoulders and chest are moving, then it's going the wrong way. We want to send that breath in a down and expanding motion. If you are in your early postpartum phase, you don't want to send it too much just in the belly when you've got a weak diastasis here, right? Like the midline is very weak. You may end up with what we call coning, where all that pressure tries to poke up in the middle, coming out the weak spot. And you don't want to send too much down into your pelvic floor either. We want it to come to be well dispersed in a 360-degree motion. And so breathing here is the first part, though it seems simple. Try to feel that expansion in your back, in the back of your ribs, and around your rib cage here, and in your abdomen as well. If you struggle with this, then this is where you need to stop. Spending time practicing this breath is the first step. If you feel like you've got that pretty well lying here, prone with your knees bent, then we're going to do it with our legs up and using our hands to check in again. So we're going to keep breathing. Are we getting any coning, right? Is your belly poking up in the middle? Are you feeling any incontinence or pressure in your pelvic floor? These are all things we want to check in with here in this. And if just holding the weight of your legs is too much, you can use something, a chair, a couch, something to support your legs, and practice this with a little bit more support. Alexa, turn it off. So you can do the same thing with your legs supported and just focus on the breath. And then we're going to add in the arms as well. So again, if you need the support, keep your legs up. That's great. If not, you can do this. The idea is your arms and legs are both curved as if you're hugging like a giant yoga ball. Try and turn this way so you can see this angle, right? So my knees are wider than my hips, and my feet are about in line with my hips. This is the angle we're looking for. And from here, the reason we call this dead bug is it's kind of like you're a cockroach lying on your back, right, with your arms and legs sticking up. We're going to continue with the breath, and then we're going to add moving the opposite hand and opposite foot. The key here is that this is a slow, gentle focus on the breath and how you're feeling. It may be that when you start, this is all you're doing, like very, very small movements. The volume of movement is not important. You do not have to come all the way out here for this to be effective. The importance is your core distributing this pressure well? Is it managing the pressure well? Or are you overstressing already weak muscles? So while you're in this position, you're going to inhale, getting that nice expansion, and move with holding the expansion. So inhale, moving, and then exhale as you're coming back. Inhale, slow movement. Exhale, come back to neutral. Okay. So again, starting small and just paying attention to how you feel. Maybe you keep one hand on your belly while you're moving the opposite to check for any coning to make sure that the core is working well together. And I typically do about 20 total, so 10 on either side, alternating back and forth. But you can start as small as you feel like you need to, especially if you're within the first, say, 8 weeks or so postpartum. I always recommend to my clients that you do something very small one day, and then the next day you rest and you just check in with your body and see how you're feeling, so that you don't just think, oh, I'm 6 weeks and I can just jump right back into whatever. Like, eat very incremental, do a little bit something more one day, rest the next day. How do you feel? Did that increase your bleeding? Are you sore? Are you, any sense of like heaviness or anything like that? And as always, if you have any concerns, please check with your medical care provider before beginning any sort of exercise or movement routine.